What's up fam, and welcome to my Ghost of Tsushima Legends gear tier list. I haven't seen a lot of videos on which gear is better or worse than others, so I decided to make my own. A couple of quick disclaimers before I start. I'm including the class charms as part of this discussion. Even though they're not legendaries, they're pretty much just as rare, and their effects are similar in strength to that of the other legendaries. Also, I made the icons for this template from my own gear, and I don't have Masamune's Edge or Demon Cutter, so those purples are representing those. And lastly, everything I say here is my own opinion intended for discussion, so if you agree or disagree, drop a comment letting me know why. And with that out of the way, let's get into the tier list. I'm going to be going from bottom up, so let's start off D tier with Benkei's Last Stand. It gives a 15% chance to negate arrow damage. There's honestly no point in taking this charm, just listen to your doshos. I forgot I didn't have this one, so I couldn't put it on the tier list. Next is Shogun's Fortitude. It grants immunity to flash and poison effects, and it can somewhat be useful on boss waves that have toxic clouds, but honestly, the flash effect is not that bad. Poison is not really a threat to Samurai or Ronin, and if you're really that afraid of it, you can run a healing gourd. And then we have Last Breath. Once every 5 minutes you ignore death and heal for 50 health. In order to get good value out of this, you have to die once every 5 minutes. If you die any more or less than that, this charm isn't doing anything for you. Also, other charms will make you kill enemies more quickly and by extension, die less. And then we have Mist of Yagata. It's basically a smoke bomb that heals, but the heal amount is so little it's almost irrelevant. The only thing the heal is legitimately useful for is removing poison. And finally, the last in D tier, we have Injo's Remorse. It gives 15% bonus damage while at full health. The bonus damage is useful, however you can't really guarantee that you will stay at high health. It's only really useful for high sustain builds or long range builds. Moving up to C tier, we have Lady Sanjo's Surprise. It's a dirt throw with a 15% chance to hallucinate enemies on hit. Generally, dirt throw is a pretty good ghost weapon, however the percentage on this effect is way too low to be reliable. In my experience, the hallucinate effect is rolled based on each cast, not necessarily each enemy affected, which means if you hit multiple enemies with one cast, you're not increasing your chance to get the effect. Also, it being linked to a dirt throw can be a hindrance. Enemies affected by it will be stunned for a few seconds, which reduces the amount of time they will be fighting for you. Next, I'm going to go with Touch of Heaven. It's a sticky bomb that heals teammates caught in the blast. It heals for a decent amount and does well with blast radius, as you will be more likely to be in the heal. Two things holding it back is 1, the cooldown of sticky bomb is fairly long, and 2, your teammates will not always be near the target. The next one might be controversial, but I'm going to go with the Ronin Charm. I personally believe the 2 perks you can take from this are pretty underwhelming. Taking the Spirit Bearer makes it so that your spirit animal is stronger, but significantly reduces your healing as you can't take healing incense. The healing aura around your wolf is okay, but you can't control your pet, so you're at the mercy of the dog's AI, and once it dies it has a longer cooldown than healing incense. The best thing about Ronin Charms are that you can take healing incense radius, which allows your team to benefit from your heals while having more room to work with. The next one is probably also controversial, as I think a lot of people like this one, but I'm gonna have to put the Master's Katana here. Master's Katana allows you to switch between all stances. In my opinion, this suffers from a Master of None issue. You can use any stance, but you only ever really need Water or Moon stance, and Moon stance is not that good without Moon Master. Also, I'll admit I'm nitpicking here, but you have to commit time to changing stances in combat, which can cost you in certain circumstances. It may not come up often, but is something you would never have to deal with one stance. And rounding out C tier is the Weightless Spirit. Arrow shots from this bow do not descend. This bow has similar problems to the Master's Katana in that it kind of is meant to be a quality of life perk. It may feel cool when you first use it, but using it long term will make your aim suffer when you stop. Moving on to B tier, we have Forbidden Medicine. Forbidden Medicine is a bomb pack that heals teammates on hit. This is a decent effect, however most of the time you will be throwing bombs into crowds of enemies, and more often than not there won't be teammates to heal in the middle of that. Also, it can be hard to consistently heal teammates from long range due to their travel speed and how often your teammates will be moving. With that being said, there are a few drawbacks to this, and it's probably the best options for assassins to get consistent healing with a legendary outside of a regular healing gourd. You just need to roll for assassin unlock. Next up, we have Sacred Iron. This charm is here only for its synergy with the Samurai. With this, you can face take enemy hits while either of your abilities are up, and you will deal back pretty good damage. If you're going to run this, try to get Super Armor in the perk slot and a Moon Katana with Moon Master. This can be half as good on the Ronin, but aside from those 2 classes, this charm would probably be in D tier. After this is Yoshitsune's Hand. Staggered enemies have a 30% chance to be knocked down. This weapon is pretty good, and is a good option for a Ronin having synergy with their increased stagger damage perk. If you pair this with Poison Blade or Water Master, many enemies can be nearly stun locked. It's a decent effect tied to a strong weapon. Overall, it's a pretty solid mid tier. Next is Stone Striker. It's a stone stance katana with a stronger version of Heavenly Strike that costs 1 resolve. Stone stance is an okay stance, and having an unblockable high damage attack is good. However, most classes have better ways to expend resolve. Following the other katanas, we have Masamune's Edge. Melee attacks have a 20% chance to deal double damage. This effect is decent, but it's held back by wind stance being likely the worst stance. If one specs specifically into melee damage, it might be okay. Also, 20% is fairly low on a stance that does not strike very quickly. If there was a way to increase attack speed, or if this was on water stance, it might be better, but as it stands, it's just okay. And for the last in B tier, we have Heaven's Sting. Shots from this blowgun have a 20% chance to instantly kill non-OD targets. 20% to instant kill most enemies is better than 20% for double damage in my opinion. And given that you can use darts so frequently, it offsets the lower percentage. Also, if you are running an assassin with Opportunist, you'll be using your blow dots pretty often, meaning you'll have many chances to proc it. Now we're getting into the really strong legendaries, and let's start off with one of my favorites. Kenji's Shared Brew is a healing gourd that heals teammates in a fairly large area around the user. This is a powerful effect tied to a powerful ghost weapon. If you have multiple teammates that run this, you can clear Nightmare without a Ronin, definitely worthy of your legendary slot. Next we have the last katana, Demon Cutter. Staggering a target has a 30% chance to throw nearby enemies. This weapon is strong for much of the same reason as Sacred Iron. It has a very specific synergy with Samurai face take builds. With Moonmaster you can continuously spin on enemies staggering them and you will knock many other enemies back. The reason this is higher than Sacred Iron is that with this you can run a Samurai Charm and run Explosive Blades for even more AoE damage. Running that build will basically turn you into a Beyblade. And following that we have the Hunter Charm. It comes with a few good perks that can help augment or even change the hunter's game plan altogether. Foul Arrows will make all headshots weaken enemies, and Blessed Arrows can make all headshots heal in a radius, similar to the Forbidden Medicine. The former helps to increase the hunter and the team's damage by a significant amount, and the latter allows for a support type playstyle hunters can only get with this charm. Not to mention it also comes with Explosive Arrow Radius, which is quite strong. The main thing holding it back is the reliance on Skipping Stone. Without it, I believe you'll find more efficiency picking a charm with Fire Master to boost your Explosive Arrow damage. Next up is the Assassin Charm. This charm has two very powerful perks that can be built around on their own. Hysteria will hallucinate nearby enemies after every successful assassinate, and Chain Vanish does the exact same thing as the perk, but it stacks, allowing you to get 3 vanishes. It also comes with some good stats for assassins, such as Toxic Vanish Radius, Stealth Attack Damage, or even Vanish Duration. If you're running an assassin, you'll definitely be using this charm. Next will be one of my personal favorites, Demon Seeds. Demon Seeds are caltrops that apply weaken to affected enemies. These are truly one of the best options and can be used in many situations. They can help you hold choke points or circles, they do very good damage if you run them with fired up, and they can provide strong supportive fields if you run deep bags. Enemies that step on the caltrops will take massive stagger damage, which will leave them vulnerable to attack. The only weakness to this legendary is the long cooldown. And finally, the last thing I have in A tier, which may or may not set some people off, is Skipping Stone. Skipping Stone is a longbow that makes headshots bounce to other enemies for 50% damage. This is definitely the best range weapon in the game. It makes your damage increase by a lot, and it has great synergy with 3 hunter perks in All-Seeing Eye, Pinpoint, and Executioner. With All-Seeing Eye, you're able to hit a maximum of 10 enemies with each ultimate. Pinpoint will make it so half of your body shots will count as headshots, which will bounce to other enemies. And Executioner increases the damage of headshots close to you, which will also increase the damage of the bounced shots. It also shares really good synergy with the Hunter Charm perks. I'd recommend running it with draw speed and headshot damage. For me, the only thing I can think that keeps it out of S tier is that it has a very low draw speed, which I think will lead some players to not play it. Other than that, it's a fantastic legendary. And finally S tier. Number 2 goes to the Samurai Charm. This charm comes with one of the best perks in the game, Blessed Strikes. This perk alone is the reason that samurais are able to basically brute force through Nightmare survival, as it allows you to be extremely aggressive while healing instantly. It not taking a legendary slot will allow you to run it with Spirit Kunai, which will make your ability almost constant. Seriously, Samurai before the Samurai Charm is almost a different game. And now for the best legendary in the game. Spirit Kunai makes every kill with your kunai reduce all of your cooldowns by 15%. This effect is the only thing in the game that directly gives cooldown reduction, and it gives a lot of it. Because the cooldown of this weapon is 30 seconds, if you get 2 kills with it, it will reset its own cooldown in addition to lowering all of your other ones. This enables so many builds, it can be run on any class, and honestly, this weapon is one of the only reasons I would ever run a legendary perk. If you liked this video, please drop a like for the YouTube algorithm and check out my other guides on screen. If you disagreed with any of my placements, drop a comment and tell me your opinion. Later fam.